Hi, I'm Leigh-Chantelle from Viva and today I'm here with Will Potter from Green is the New Red. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Tell me, what is Green is the New Red?
It's the title of a website I've run for a few years now, and also the new book I had published by City Lights, focused on how animal rights and environmental activists have become the FBI's #1 domestic terrorism threat. And so the title is a metaphor in comparison to what happened during the Red Scare in the United States, and labeling people as extremists and communists for their political beliefs and persecuting them. And we have very similar tactics going on right now against the environmental and animal rights movements.
Definitely. I just saw When a Tree Falls, or If a Tree Falls,
right.
An environmental documentary. That was pretty good.
It's about Dana McGowan.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it is a bit scary what he's had to go through, isn't it? And a lot of other people we know.
And I think, it's important to point out that's the intention.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not just about the people who are arrested or who are imprisoned or persecuted. It's about the message that sends to everyone else.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
I think the government and corporations, there's no way they can arrest everybody, and that's not that's not the point.
No,
it's to make people afraid.
Yeah, exactly. So when did you notice this first started happening? Like when was there a ploy from FBI or powers that be to try and spread this fear?
Well, I started following the issue in 2001, before September 11th.
Oh, wow.
And I was seeing this going on with this eco-terrorism rhetoric. But in the course of the book, I come to find out it goes much further than that. since the early 1980s. Wow,
that's surprising, because I would have thought definitely after September 11, 2001, but before that, I'm surprised.
Well, and I was surprised too,
yeah.
Because not much has changed in that time, except that they had their talking points and their legislation and their media plans and their strategy, and they certainly used 9/11 to push that agenda. But they had that in the works for a while.
Okay, and I guess the word terrorism and terrorist weren't really used before 9/11, were they? So,
they weren't, and when they were, they had a specific meaning. That changed certainly since 9/11, and also it's important that these groups started using the word eco-terrorist. And I think part of that strategy was to say, well, it's a different type of terrorist, to take people's defenses down a little bit, who think that the word terrorism talks about physical violence and harming civilians and casualties. Well, they say, well, this is eco-terrorism, and they do things like free animals.
Also, animal terrorists are under eco
Absolutely.
the name as well. Okay.
Yeah, and
why don't we have our own?
I don't know. Maybe we should write a letter.
Yeah, I should.
Might be other letters to write before that, but that might be a good one too.
Like AR terrorist or something.
Well, it sometimes it comes up from corporations and from industry groups, but for better or worse, the government's really latched onto this one term, and they're lumping all of it together. Yeah,
which is understandable because environmental should be vegan and animal rights.
There you go.
So
it's all
makes
related.
sense to them, maybe not to some of the environmental movement. But so, what do you plan? What do you try to do to get the awareness out to people?
I focus on the website and now with the book, which is written in a very different way than the website. It's focused more on the people who have their lives changed by these experiences and who have been targeted. But I think it's really important through education. I really believe that if more people knew what was going on, they would be outraged. Yeah, and it's up to all of us to make people aware, not just within our social circles and people that are like-minded, but I think everyday people are furious when they learn about these things.
Well, a lot of everyday people have no idea about it.
Oh, none at all. There's really been a media blackout that these things are even going on.
Yeah, it's atrocious. You've been getting a lot of media for your book, though.
Yeah, it's been going very well.
Good.
And we just sold out of the first printing of the book,
That's
which is always
exciting.
a nice thing to hear. And so it's going well. And I think one of the best things I heard at the conference was someone came up and said, well, I went to the library and it's taken me forever to get the book because a bunch of people had requested it.
Great.
So I think, I hope there's interest, and I hope it adds to this discussion.
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. And so, what do you plan on achieving from the book?
It's hard to say, and I think that's one of the toughest questions to answer, because I think before we can get to that point, we need so much more education about what's going on. But I think that's changing, and I also think we need to be building community and use this as an opportunity. There are a lot of negative things that have happened in terms of labeling activists as terrorists, but you can also draw inspiration from how people have responded to it and coming together as communities, reaching out to other social movements, reminding each other, you know, what we care about and why we're doing this and why we're activists. And I think all that's really important.
And it brings it home, I guess, when people hear, oh, this person went to jail for this amount of time because they rescued rabbits or did this to trees or whatever. It makes you think, why are these people doing that? Maybe they're onto something, hey?
Well, and it's been really interesting with the book, an unexpected response I've gotten from people emailing me saying they went vegan after reading the book.
Oh, great.
And I don't really talk about that very much in the book at all.
Yeah.
But people do read these things and say, well, yeah, what motivated them? Why are people risking their lives for animals? And I think that's great to rethink these things.
Very cool. And that's a great segue, Will, to ask you why you became vegan in the first place.
My story is not very glamorous at all. You know, I was involved in a lot of different types of activism, especially against the economic sanctions on Iraq when I was early years of college. And a friend of mine who I really respected, and I kind of had a crush on her, so that helps always a little bit.
It always helps for the boys, yeah.
But she just said very point blank, hey, you know, you're active on all these other issues, why aren't you vegetarian? And I didn't really have a response, and she gave me Diet for a New America by John Robbins. I went vegetarian and then vegan immediately, and it changed my life. And I've been, you know, it's been a part of everything I've done, you know, since then.
Definitely. And do you think more vegans need to be educated with the ways of what's happening in the world and the media and how we're misinterpreted or interpreted? Absolutely.
And not just that, but on a bigger level, because I think we need to know what's going on in targeting animal rights environmental activists, but what's going on with other social movements as well, and start making connections between these issues, or I should say do a better job of helping other people make connections too.
Cool. And one of your passions, motorbiking, motorcycle riding.
I love motorcycles.
Tell me your favorite place to go in America that you love traveling to.
You know, because I've been traveling so much for the book, some of my favorite rides have just been in and around Washington, D.C. You know, for all the faults of the nation's capital, a motorcycle ride around the city at night, nice. You know, when the monuments are lit up, it's a pretty amazing town.
That does sound very good. Maybe I should go back to Washington.
Give it another shot.
Yeah, maybe give it another shot. Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you for having me.
Check out greenisthenewred.com for more information and to buy Will's new book. And see vivalavegan.net for more interviews with inspiring vegans.